In the previous two sections, we started by looking at how to go from an x-score to the z-score and to compute the area to the left, to the right, or in between. Then we moved on from talking of the area to talking about the probability to the right, to the left, or in between. Now we want to go from talking, we want to start from the probability and going all the way back. So how do we move on with that? So we've already seen how to do these particular things. Now we want to go back. If you are given a probability, how do you look for the x-score? We started by having an x-score and we want to know the probability. So for that, you first need to compute your z-score. From your z-score, you compute the probability. In this case, you are given a probability and you want the x-score. How do you do that? You need to compute your z-score, and then from the z-score, you compute the x-score. Let's have fun. So you are given this probability and you want to first look for the z-score. You have to go to your table and look for this value inside your table, and from this value, you will get your z-score. So that's the idea behind it. So you have to come and search for 0.3632 inside. So you have to look for the corresponding row and column. So if you search, you will find that this is the value inside your table. Based on that, you simply take the column and you take the row, and if you put them together, you will find that it will result in negative 0.35. That is your z-score. Let's take another example. You've been given this particular value and you are told this is the area to the right. But you know your table always gives you the area or the probability to the left. So what do you do? Of course, you know when it says percent, you have to divide by 100. So we are talking of 0.1075. But this is to the right. If your table always gives you the value to the left, you simply have to do 1 minus this value to obtain the value to the left and then go to your table. So if this is what you have, but your table always gives you that, so you have to do 1 minus that value and you go to your table to look for this particular value. And if you do that, you will find that the corresponding z-score is 1.24. So it's very important to look at what it says. If you are given the area to the left, you come straight to your table. If you are given the area to the right, you first look for the area to the left by doing 1 minus that amount, and then you go to your table and you deduct it. Let's move on with this case where we are talking of P5 or percentile. So if you have 5 percentile, it simply means 5%, which is 0.05. So if you want to look for that, of course, you still have to go to your table. Now, the challenge is that you will not find exactly 0.05 in the table. So if you can't find a number in that table, what you do is you look for the number closest to the left and closest to the right. Okay? You will find that for 0.05, the closest number to the left is 0.049 and the closest to the right is 0.0505. So if you take the two z-scores, so take the two z-scores, because 0.05 falls in between, take those two z-scores and just get the average. When you take them and you add them together and divide by 2, you end up with this number. And that will be your z-score. Okay. So how do we go from the z-score to the x-score? The initial formula that was given, remember we used to compute z equals x minus mu over sigma. We flipped the formula, we've made x subject of the equation, and this is your formula. So The mu is always given, which is the average. Sigma, standard deviation, is always given. Once you obtain your z-score, you can look for x. So take these examples. The mean is given as 9, standard deviation is given as 2, and the z is given as 1.19. If it's not given, maybe the probability is given or the area, and you need to go to your table and look for the z-score. Once you have it, you can do the math. Okay? So let's say you have it there. So you have 9 and you have 2, which is given, and you've been given the x-score. That's it. You can compute it immediately. You've also been given those other numbers. You just plug it in the equation and you end up with that. So that's how to compute your x-score. Let's take this example where it makes it a bit more interesting. Here, we've been given the mean as 50, standard deviation 10, and we've been told 10% of the top 10 score. So here we are looking at top 10, which means to the right. Converting 10%, you just divide that by 100. And if you want to look for the area to the left, you simply do 1 minus, which will be, well, 90% or 0.9. And you go to your table, you go to your table to look for the Z score, which will likely be 1.28. With that z-score, you plug it in your equation, whereby you have the mean as 50 and standard deviation as 10, and it will give you the value you need. So 90 percentiles, if you plug it in your equation, it should give you an x-score of 62.8. Okay, it's important that you check it and play around with it. Now we go to the last phase, which can be a bit confusing if you have not fully understood the first few lectures. Make sure the other ones are well understood, then come here because this one has a little twist.